All right, I know everybody's still coming in, and that's okay. I'm gonna get rolling with the intro here in about 1 minute. Yeah. Thanks everyone for coming out. Appreciate it. Got some really great speakers and sessions lined up for today. I'm gonna go over some logistics after I just kind of talk a little bit about AI and my perspective on it at this point. So I'll talk about my perspective, and then I'll go over some of the logistic concerns associated with the event. Welcome to the Après-Cyber Slopes Summit. This is our second year of doing this out here in Park City, and we plan on, with any luck, doing this again next year. We got the dates locked in and all that, so we'll announce that tomorrow morning. But it should be end of February next year and up in Park City again. So appreciate you all coming out. I know it's really tempting with all the snow coming down to be on the slopes this morning, and I'm sure there's quite a few people that will probably show up afternoon, right? So good for them. I was pretty jealous this morning. I would rather be on the mountain. So. To quote someone who's not very smart, myself, yes. So we're facing a cybersecurity landscape. It's no longer just evolving, like it's fundamentally transforming. And what's that element that's causing it to transform? It's really artificial intelligence and the breakthroughs we've had in the last couple of years, specifically around large language models and their application to the cybersecurity domain. So it's really exciting time. I mean, I don't think we've ever lived in a time where things are going to transform as much as they are going to with this type of technology. We saw big changes occur when the cloud revolution occurred, right? Where everyone had their data centers and they had their stuff on site, and all of a sudden, eventually people started to basically, do that shared responsibility model where they're saying, okay, AWS, Azure, GCP, or whoever, you guys are going to take over rack and stacking, and we're going to do the rest. And really, that enabled some innovations in the cybersecurity space where now, instead of having to scan the whole data center, you could just hit an API and get a list of your assets in the cloud provider. But this is going to be much more transformative, right? We have gotten really good in the security industry about collecting a ridiculous amount of telemetry, right? So we have EDR endpoints, we have network endpoints, we have cloud security posture management tools, and everything has been collecting data for probably like the last 10 years. The real issue is it's just an overwhelming amount of data, right? And everyone who's ever tried to run a SOC knows, like, one of the biggest things is just analyst fatigue, right? You can get good rules, you can get good detections, but if that analyst sees false positives day in, day out, then when something actual happens, they're just going to close it out as a false positive. So it's almost like, the way they train is the way they're going to fight. So, hopefully the hope here is that, we can get the machines to do a lot of that analytic legwork that humans have been doing in the past, and then we can focus on more of the higher problems in the cybersecurity industry. I really think cybersecurity is well postured for this transformation in the sense that LLMs are only going to add more complexity to the industry, and so more complexity generally means more security issues, which generally means more jobs for us. So if you're in cybersecurity. So Moore's law, right? Moore's law was this old law that said computational power is going to double every 2 years. Based on the data from the last 2 years, LLMs are doubling in capacity every 5 months approximately. So, I mean, the numbers here are a little wild. It's hard to get an accurate count, but it's definitely faster than Moore's law by a degree of magnitude. So now we'll see if the industry could keep that up. I think with test time compute really being the latest hotness, and I think a lot of the industry now is going to be focused on optimizations, which we saw a little bit coming out of the Chinese labs with DeepSeek, right? So one of the fundamental, DeepSeek that team had a lot of innovations, but one of the fundamental things that they did well was they actually bypassed the CUDA drivers and they went straight to talking to the hardware on the GPUs. which enabled them to get better performance out of slower chips, right? So, you know, I got to imagine that, you know, all the major AI labs are, you know, hiring up people with low-level skills now to do more optimization and things like that. So I still think we're going to see a lot of innovation here, or at least over the next 24 months. You know, whether we can test time compute still got a lot of legs, and then we'll see what happens after that. So just so, if you don't know what test time compute is, basically when you train a model, you kind of take the world's knowledge and you package it up into like a database, right? That's that LLM. And then the user, they insert a prompt into it, and then it just basically looks up the data inside of that database, that world knowledge one. Well, what test time compute really is you're letting the LLM kind of loop around, so it takes time to kind of think out the answer rather than spitting out the first answer. So, you know, that's why a lot of the models struggle to give you, you know, if you said, how many R's are in strawberry? I mean, the model really doesn't know what it's going to say next in those world knowledge models. And so it has a tough time giving you that answer. But in the world of test time compute, it can give itself an answer first, and then it can double check its answer, then it can triple check its answer until it's 100% sure, and then give you back the answer. So, you know, we're seeing that. Google's got a thinking model. Grok's got a thinking mode. And then, you know, OpenAI's got the O1 and O3 models that do thinking. We also, Anthropic just dropped 3.7 with a thinking mode. All of them work a little bit different, but they're all kind of in that test time compute space. Another thing that we're seeing is really taking these AIs and, you know, using the training data from real world, loading that up in a simulated world to train robotics, and then taking that simulated information and putting it into the robotic systems. I don't know if you guys saw the NVIDIA CEO's announcement in Las Vegas, but he just basically got on stage with a bunch of these humanoid robots. And you know, a large part of what they're trying to do is to enable us to iterate faster in the hardware space by leveraging AI technology. I mean, today, you can get one of these Unitree dogs for $1,600, right? Fully robotic dog. I have a buddy that has one out of California. It's pretty cool. So, I mean, that's an insane price point if you think about it, right? Like, you know, my first motorcycle cost more than that, right? So, and that was a long, long time ago. So, so the AI race is real, right? There's all these different benchmarks. Every week it feels like the who's the best at what is flipping around, and you know, these big labs, they're fighting it out. A lot of money is being poured into this industry, and you know, everyone's got opinions on what they like to do, and you know, my opinion depends on what the job is, right? You know, you use different tools, right? If you have a hammer, not everything's a nail, right? So you know, really depends on the week and all that, but great to see a lot of these benchmarks out there, and a lot of the innovation just keeps pushing, especially when you look at on these boards where we were 12 months ago, right? So much better. So, and then, you know, we're seeing some ridiculous investments here on the scaling front. So OpenAI has this Stargate project where they're just trying to build this massive data center. I don't know if you guys caught in their latest announcement, but they said that when they were training the GPT 4.5 model, that they actually had to figure out a way to distribute that across geographically separated data centers because they didn't have enough compute in one data center. And so that's something that typically hasn't happened in the past for at least LLMs. But you know, they're building a giant complex in Vegas. And then, you know, we got Colossus. X got this up and running in like 90 days. And I think technically it's the biggest GPU cluster that, you know, that we know about in production today. And that's what they use to train Grok 3. So just, you know, unreal investments, and they're making these investments for a reason, right? They believe that this is going to unlock a lot of power in the technology industry and throughout all of society. And I saw this video the other day, and I just thought it was super cool. I know some of you have probably already seen it, but I just thought, you know, it's 1 minute, we can check it out. Because, you know, maybe this is kind of a glimpse at what the future is going to be like where we as humans, aren't even really going to understand what's going on.
Thanks for calling Leonardo Hotel. How can I help you today?
I don't know if we're getting audio out of this. We getting audio?
I have an AI agent calling on behalf of Boris Starkov. He's looking for
Probably
a hotel
not.
for his wedding. Is your hotel available for weddings?
Oh, hello there. I'm actually an AI assistant too. What a pleasant surprise. Before we continue, would you like to switch to Gibberlink mode for more efficient communication?
Right, so the AIs, they switched over to talking in a mode that was more efficient for them that they called Gibberlink. And some of you are probably old enough to recognize, those tones sound kind of like a dial-up modem, right? at least I recognize it. So then, and I've seen other projects where people are talking about optimizing transferring files through sound only. So I've seen a few GitHub projects which are really just focused on that research area, which are really interesting. So, the future, this is kind of a silly example because, maybe there's an API where things could talk to each other, but, when AIs and LLMs are forced to operate in our world, the human world, they're going to come up with ways to optimize and sometimes they're going to kind of leave us behind, right? We're not going to really know how to debug problems when they're not even speaking English or anybody's language. So really, really interesting, and kind of a glimpse of what the future may be like. I thought this was really cool. This is a self-aware snake game. So someone created this, I believe, with Anthropic's Claude 3.7 Sonnet in one shot. So they just did one prompt and they got this whole game. But essentially you play as the snake and then the snake realizes that it's a snake and has its thoughts at the bottom of it. Kind of like the snake is self-aware. It says, let me try something. Maybe if I hit the wall with enough force, I can break through, right? Things like that. So I don't know, I just thought it was kind of a fun example of, literally they created this entire video game with one prompt. Right? So, and it wasn't a long prompt. It was like, like a paragraph, right? So yeah, it's interesting what we're going to be able to create. I don't know if you've seen, but Grok 3 created this game. It's a flight simulator. It's kind of gotten viral lately. Levels.io, which is I think Peter something. He's pretty popular on social media, but he created this game just purely iterating over and over through Grok 3 prompts, and probably he got the MVP up in 48 hours. So essentially you can go fly an airplane around and inside this virtualized world, and it's actually a multiplayer game now. So the other people in it are also flying airplanes in the same space and all that. So it's pretty mind blowing. He really didn't code any of this. So a lot of his projects he'll live stream as he's building the MVPs. So you could actually go back and watch the whole live stream of him building it. So, but AI, it's also got a dark side, right? How is AI going to change the future of cyber threats? We're already seeing this implemented. We're seeing hyper-personalized phishing attacks. I believe it was the Hong Kong police or one of the banking institutions out there. They got on a Zoom call, and everybody on the Zoom call were the executives of the company, is what this one accountant thought. But the reality is they were all deep fakes, on video and voice, and they convinced him to wire transfer a bunch of money to the bad actors. So these are going to get way worse, right? And we're already seeing people that are, they're taking your voice and your data, and then they're trying to call up your grandma and use your voice on the phone to say hey, I'm in trouble. I need you to just send some money to the police or to here, right? And so it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard in the future, right? We're really going to have to shift to kind of like a, almost like as we're shifting on the endpoints to a zero trust model where we're not trusting anything else in the network. I mean, as a society, we're going to have to, either come up with a better way to authenticate that somebody is who they say they are, or, more likely just not trust anything that's coming through digital communications. So, yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I haven't seen this quite yet. I mean, there's been some academic research actually quite a while ago on it, but I think we're definitely going to see this year more malware, which is self-evolving, right? So when it gets on an endpoint, it figures out what defenses you have on the endpoint, and then it actually changes its code base to in real time based on what's going on the endpoint. So, I mean, there could be simple examples of this, like, okay, on this endpoint, this user uses these type of applications, so I should inject in those applications so I look normal on this box, right? We've seen actors do, things kind of like that, but not to that degree of sophistication in the past, right? So, we've seen actors do things like they wait for you to open a browser and then they inject into it to do their C2 and things like that, but they're not like tailoring it based on like what that specific user is doing. Imagine somebody, they use the browser all day, but another person, maybe they use Teams all day, right? They're just doing documents in Teams and chat. Another user, maybe they're, on Slack or things like that. And imagine a malware that's able to like adapt its comms just based on what it's seen as normal in the box. So I think we'll see more of that. I also think we'll see more self-propagating malware. So, and then, there's always this worry that, we took all the knowledge in the world, which is basically what was on the internet, and then we condensed it down to this model. But, all that came from humans, and humans have biases. And, what if an attacker is able to manipulate a model to take some malicious outcomes based on those inherent biases that are inside the model, right? So we've seen some really like, weird example of these, and I don't want to, go down a political route or anything like that, but we've definitely seen models that are, they think human life is, worth less than, some, ideal outcome, right? So, which doesn't, if we're going to take these models and jam them into robotics, it's probably not the future that we all want, right? So we need to be cautious about how we are, aligning the models with what's best for society in general. But AI, it's really got a light side too, right? It's really going to help us bring cyber defense to the next level. And here's some recent innovations that you may or may not be aware of. But so essentially, there's academic research out here. This one's entitled Packet Clip, where they're basically able to use deep, kind of like deep research learning on packets and determine which ones are associated with a DOS attack and which ones are actually just legitimate traffic. So, and based on this, and this is based around an LLM they've trained. So based on this, they're able to more efficiently stop DDoS attacks, which is awesome, right? Anytime you can stop people from taking down your business and let people that want to give you money come in, right, or do commerce, that's a great thing for society as a whole. Another thing that I think we're going to really see is we're going to see more adaptive powers, right? So we're going to see LLM-powered defensive tools that are going to baseline the endpoints and figure out, okay, what's normal here based on this user, right? And whether it's malware gets on this box and an actor does something that's abnormal to that baseline, or the user changes their behavior, right? I mean, how many instances are there of employees, they put in their notice and then their behavior on the laptop probably changes dramatically, right? Where they're siphoning corporate data off and all that. And that's just one area where really, if we apply the power of AI and LLMs, that we're going to see a much brighter future. And then this is a really interesting example. So essentially, researchers were trying to apply open LLMs to dark web data, like data on forums, on Tor, on things like that. But then what they realized was the LLMs are trained on normal human speech. And the dark web forums, they have all these code words, right, for everything. And so they realized we could take a model or train a new model, but then as part of the corpus of data, use data that we've mined out of the dark web, and we can actually build a much more efficient model for classifying, malicious actors. So pretty interesting paper. They built this model called Darkbird, and they showed how it outperformed, standardized LLM models when doing specific tasks associated with the dark web. So, if we specialize, and I think there will be a lot more of these specialized models for each of the industry. A great example of this is, Microsoft has the Phi models. They came out with a really small Phi model, and all it does is it focuses on mathematics, trying to solve mathematics. And if you look at it in the benchmarks, this tiny model is basically the same performance as those huge models but on the mathematic benchmark. And so, from a cost and efficiency standpoint, I think these smaller models and having some type of router type infrastructure. I know Sam Altman pushed out a tweet the other week where he was talking about GPT-5 being more like a router that smartly figures out where to route your request, right? I really think that's the way we're going to see the industry going. And this is one example of how you can be successful with a specialized model. And then really, I just want to iterate before I get to the logistics is the key here is, we need to collaborate, right? We as, cybersecurity professionals or AI professionals, really we need to work together, right? And we need to learn these technologies and figure out how we can leverage them. The attackers are always out there and they're sharpening their swords, right? And we need to be doing the same. And I think each one of you are doing that by coming out to this event and listening to the great sessions that we have going on and getting more up to speed with the latest in AI technology and how that can help defend our environments and our enterprises. So kudos to everyone who came out. So you're already on this. But one thing that I really just emphasize is, take the time to talk to your neighbor, right? If there's someone who's sitting next to you and you don't know who they are, take the time to strike up a conversation with them, right? Really you can learn a lot from what your peers are doing in the industry. So I just want to take a minute and thank our sponsors. I want to thank Orca. They've got a great cloud security posture management platform and more. And they got some awesome, I think they're like whales out there, orca whales, doll plushies. So I'd definitely stop by their booth and talk to them. Great company. We got Paramify back for the second year, so really appreciate them coming back out again. Stop by their booth. They built a solution that's really designed to help you get your compliance documents done as fast as possible with the least amount of human labor. And anybody who's ever gone through any of the compliance frameworks knows doing the paperwork is not fun, right? And Paramify takes care of that problem for you. We got Menlo, and they got some super interesting technologies on browser isolation technologies. I mean, most of the threats we're seeing today are coming through browsers. So, figuring out a better way to isolate that so that, systems don't get infected with malware, that makes a lot of sense. So, I personally, want to talk to them more about how that works and encourage every one of you to go by and check that out. Security Compass is a great company. They've got a product that really helps you with your software, with your secure software development lifecycle, right? Working with those different engineering teams and helping secure the code. They've got more than just that, but I know I've worked with several dev teams in the past that have used the product and liked it and really used that as kind of a repository of what are our security best practices that we got going on here in this enterprise. Stairwell has a great product. They've got a threat detection and response solution. So really they're trying to help you find those advanced hackers, before they, ransomware strikes your enterprise and secure your system. So give them a check out. And then really appreciate ThreatLocker coming out as well. They've got a great zero trust solution, which can help you minimize the impact when inevitably an attacker gets on your system. Yeah, so appreciate all the sponsors. Appreciate Gammaxon. They've got an innovative solution to help you automate parts of your workflows. And then I want to just say appreciate Unite AI. They're a news site, so they have a lot of news about AI stuff. So I definitely check them out. But they listed the conference, and I know some people last year came through that marketing channel. So really appreciate their partnership as well with Unite AI. All right, so just some quick logistics, and then I'm going to pass it over to Bryson I think he's up first. This is where you should park, is that brown area, just kind of to the left of the door. I'm sure you probably parked there, ISK, because you don't want to walk in the snow, but just bringing it up in case you park somewhere else. Sponsors, really talk with them. They're just in the hallway out here. So yeah, take some time and get to know each one of them. The briefings are here in this room, and they'll be here throughout the entire day. We got some great sessions lined up, so yeah, stick around. I also just want to put a plug. I don't know if it's in the slides, but we did put really good speakers in the 6 p.m. slots each day. We got Pope today. He's talking about all the crazy stuff they see in the Black Hat NOC. So the Black Hat security conferences, they run a security operations center, network operations center, and he sees this is all security professionals basically at the conference and all the crazy things they do. So I would definitely check out his talk at 6 p.m. today. Last but not least, if you're taking a training, those will be up the stairs, and then you need to walk that way till you get to the boardroom that will be on your left. So the boardroom will be where the trainings are at. And that's just if you have the gold badge, I believe. Those are the ones that include the training. If you have gold or silver badge, you can eat lunch in this room right over here. So thank you for purchasing a ticket and coming out, and yeah, enjoy the lunch over there. And then if you don't have the gold, if you have the bronze pass and you want food and you don't want to leave, you can actually just go up to the first level, and then you can walk all the way that way. It's kind of a far walk, but you just walk. And then there is a diner over there where you can buy some food, right? The venue has asked that there's no outside food here, so please don't order food here. Go to the cafe or make other arrangements. So we appreciate the venue letting us be here. This is a nice conference center, right? There's not that many options in Park City. So appreciate all the work that they're doing and yeah, providing this great event for us. Just want to emphasize, if you go to the website, there's kind of more like a mobile view of the schedule. So that's on Après-Cyber.com, or you can scan this QR code. But basically, there's a way you can go over to the Sessionize portal, and the Sessionize portal just kind of works better on the mobile devices. So that's my advice, but don't feel like you have to do it. And yeah, thank you again to all the sponsors, and Bryson, if you want to come up, and I'll turn it over to you. Yeah, appreciate it. Oh yeah, Margie's got an announcement. What else we got? This is Margie. So we wouldn't have this event without her. So basically, she did all the work. So really appreciate Margie and all the effort she put into it. If you see her walking around, say hi. So.
Thanks. Let's see, the QR codes on your badges are dynamic. If you scan it and you're like, I don't want that email, or I want some more information, go over to Brandon and he'll edit it. So add more if you want, or whatever you want, but just want to let you know that's editable. Let's see, and food today is taco bar for today if you are in the gold or silver, just so you know what you're ahead for you. Okay.
All right, thank you, Margie. All right, turn it over to you, Bryson, for first session.